So today I'm just gonna discuss how living in the country or semi-rural Japan is way more better than the city. I mean, I've never lived in the city, but I visit there quite often, and I hate it. I really do. I hate the city. I hate Tokyo. It's just horrible for me. Yokohama is not too bad. Osaka is terrible. I prefer Osaka over Tokyo, but it's just too much. It's too much for someone like me who just likes the peace and quiet of country life. So, here are my top 5 reasons why living in the country is way better than living in the city. So, reason number 1, cleaner air, fresh air. Great air, beautiful nature. I mean, if you look outside my window right now, actually, let's look outside my window right now. Look at that, those are mountains. Mountains. So that's what makes living in the country so much better than in the town for me, because I'm an environmentalist and I love nature. So the cleaner air is better. I know when I go to Osaka, I always have to put on a surgical mask on as soon as I get on the train. About Japan is a lot of people, they're inconsiderate because when they have to sneeze, they just go and they just cough, which is gross. And I don't know. I don't know if it's something with Japan or the world in general, but in Jamaica, that's a no-no. No, you don't do that in Jamaica, because people will look at you. If you do that in a public space in Jamaica, people will look at you and be like, "Ah, what do you, boss? Lad!" So in order to not get shamed, people have manners and are considerate. I would never do that in Jamaica. But here, it's just like germs everywhere galore. And it's not just Japanese people, it's also tourists, the Chinese tourists, and it's just not a good look. So in the country, less people, less germs, the air is cleaner. That's a great reason to live in the country versus the city. And the number 2 reason, another reason that I like, because I'm an environmentalist, is recycling. I found out in Osaka they don't do recycling as vigorously as they do here in the country. If you've seen my how to recycle in Japan video, you know, a lot of semi-rural, rural areas, they have, what do you call the sheets? In fact, let me go get mine now. Most cities have these recycling sheets, and it has the days that different trash goes out in, which is great because we produce a lot of garbage in Japan, and it's nice to know that to counter that they do some form of recycling. In the city, it doesn't appear to be the case, because Yokohama, I know they do that. Osaka, no, because my friends in Osaka, they're like, we don't have to separate anymore, you just throw out the garbage. So I don't know if that's just them being lazy or what, but definitely a point for living in the country and semi-rural areas is you get to recycle, and I love recycling. I'm so glad I live in a country where they recycle. Now, the number 3 reason why it's so great to live in the country is it's way safer than in the city. I mean, as a general rule, Japan is pretty safe. Japan is one of the safest places in the world. The crime rate is very low. People steal and stuff, but the frequency of that is it's nothing compared to Jamaica. Ha! So it's much better to live in the country, because if the city has very little crime and very little stealing going on, then in the country it's non-existent basically. I mean, everyone I've heard of, they have known someone who had something stolen, but it's very minor. It's not a big deal. There aren't people going around and stabbing each other. So living in the country is great, especially if you live alone and if you're female. A lot of times I'm walking home at 10:30, 11:30, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the night, and I feel completely safe. I really shouldn't let my guard down too much, but it really, you do have a sense of security while living in the country. No one's going to pop up and stab you. I hope. Fingers crossed. My parents are not worried about me because they know I'm safe and sound in the countryside. So that's a plus. Yay, country! The number 4 reason is people are way friendlier in the country. I don't know what's going on. And I think racism, well, not racism, but I guess a hatred of gaijin, so gaijism. I have no idea what to call that. But in the city, more people are kind of negative towards gaijin or foreigners, gaikokojin, whatever you want to call us. Foreigners in Japan, more people are kind of They don't they look at you strange, and I think that stems from the fact that they've probably had bad experiences or know someone with who've had bad experiences with foreigners or tourists, so that just makes their mind set against other gaijin. While in the country, a lot of the time you're the first gaijin or you're the first black person someone here will ever meet, so they don't know what to think. So that's why a lot of people are always staring, they're like looking like, especially little kids. And I hate when the little kids look, because they're just giving you the shadiest looks in the world. They're looking at it like, and then for me the natural reaction is to look back like this, and they make a funny face. Some of them cry and I feel bad, but others smile about it. So you have to remember that you are the first foreigner that a lot of people are seeing. So just ignore the stares and don't just assume they're being racist or they're thinking horrible things about you. In the country, it's just, wow, that's a new face. That's someone I've never seen in life. And they'll be friendly towards you. Meanwhile, in the city, because they have that negative idea about gaijin, it's not so great. But that's why I love life in countryside, because they're always so friendly to me. And I remember the first day I arrived, I couldn't find my apartment, and I went to the 7-Eleven, and the nice lady in there came out and she showed me, and I was like, oh, thank you. And we've been friends ever since. I go there all the time and I hail her up and I say, hey, how you doing? Talking. And it's just, they're more open to helping you if you live in the country, as opposed to the city where they think that you might rob them. This is all gaijin's fault. Bad gaijins are tourists who come to Japan and set a bad example. Because remember, people aren't born racist, or people aren't born prejudiced. It's a bad experience they've had, and with one person or one race, one member of a race, and then that just carries over because of ignorance. So if you are the first black person, the first white person in an area, set a good example, and they will always feel very welcome to foreigners after you, which is what I'm trying to do here in my beloved city of Kainan. So my fifth and final reason why living in the country is so much better than living in the city is you get a better appreciation of Japanese culture. In the city, a lot of time they try to cater to tourists, so you get this fake manufactured idea of what Japan is. Meanwhile, in the country, you have traditional things going on. You have traditional shrines and temples and activities and festivals. So it's not manufactured Japan, it's real Japan, real culture. If you're like me, who genuinely wants to learn about different cultures and the way people lived in a different lifestyle and traditional buildings and such, then living in the country is great. And because I said the people are so friendly, you'll always meet up with someone who will want to show you their area. The city, you have more things that are catered towards tourists, and therefore it's like you haven't left home, because the things that you need are there. So you'll be more prone to just going and eating McDonald's and eating American food, Pizza Hut and stuff, instead of trying traditional dishes and eating traditional foods. So that's my 5 reasons why living in the country seems to be way better for me than living in the city. Cleaner air, great environment, beautiful views. Recycling is actually done, which is great. The people are friendlier. They're so much more friendlier in the city, in the country than they are in the city, and safer. It's much safer, I feel, than in the city, even though Japan in general is super safe. And last but not least, you get to experience Japan, traditional Japan. So it's really not that bad, because I know a lot of people, when they do jobs like mine, ALT teaching, the companies, the dispatch companies, they usually just throw you into the most rural part. But once you get there, you understand that it can become the perfect fit for you. You don't have to live in the city life. You can just adjust and adapt and enjoy what's around you. And the countryside is amazing. I mean, the views are the best part. It's not a concrete jungle. You see nature, and it's beautiful, and it's clean. So yes, that's why living in the country is great. There are some problems with living in the country that I have had to deal with, and it drives me crazy. Number 1, transportation. Transportation in the countryside is way more expensive than in the city, I have to admit. And a lot of the times there's only one train line, and that train line only runs every twice per hour. So if you miss a train, you have to wait like 30 minutes for the next one. So that could just mess up your schedule completely. Buses are way more expensive than in the city. That's why if they send you to a country area for your job, please get a bicycle or a car. Bicycles are cheaper, or a bike, whichever one, because the public transportation is going to be limit you to a lot of stuff, so it's easier to get those things. That's a con, that's a downfall of living in the country. Public transportation is expensive, and it's not as frequent as in the city, which I give props to the city for. But yeah, that's all I have to say about why it's better to live in the country than it is to live in the city. But I've always been the type of girl who just hates city and hates people and hates crowds and stuff. So maybe I'm being a little biased, but I think I have stated some very good points. And remember, if you get thrown into a country setting, just adapt and learn to love it, because there are a lot of benefits. And just buy your bicycle and ride around your little country area and meet some friendly people who will adopt you and love you and take care of you as your own. And your experience in Japan will be amazing. So that's it. Until next time. Bye bye.